Hello, and thank you for joining the annual Gala of the Center for Migration Studies of New York, or CMS. I'm Donald Kerwin, CMS's Executive Director. CMS is a think tank on international migration with a social mission. We're devoted to the promotion of understanding between immigrants and receiving communities and to public policies that safeguard the dignity and rights of migrants, refugees, and newcomers. We're proud members of the Scalabrini International Migration Network and the global network of Scalabrini Study Centers. And tonight, we're particularly pleased to be honoring Robert Juceam with our Lifetime Service Award and to be presenting our Humanitarian Service Award to Randy McGrorty and Myriam Mezadieu, the co-founders of Catholic Legal Services of the Archdiocese of Miami, and to Mekong NYC, which is a social justice organization that serves and organizes the Southeast Asian community in the Bronx and throughout New York City. Mekong will be represented by their executive director, Chaya Chum. Let me take a moment to thank a few of our sponsors for their support in this event. First, many thanks to our philanthropist sponsors. They are Fried, Frank, Harris, Shriver, and Jacobson, LLP, Joseph Hage Aronson, LLC. Thanks as well to our humanitarian sponsors, Catholic Charities of Brooklyn and Queens, and Catholic Migration Services, the DeSales Media Group, Fragaman, Del Rey, Bernson, and Lowy, LLP, Vincent F. Pitta and Antoinette Pitta, Pitta, Bishop, and Del Giorno, LLC, and Pitta, LLC, and the St. Chong Hasang Catholic Church. We've recognized these and our many other sponsors on our Gala webpage, and we thank you for your great generosity to us. Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio of the Diocese of Brooklyn served for many years as CMS's board chair. Bishop received CMS's Lifetime Service Award in 2019 and has been a tireless champion of immigrants and refugees over his long career in ministry. Bishop will lead us in our opening prayer. Let's turn to him now.
Good evening and welcome to the virtual Gala for the Center for Migration Studies. I thank you for your interest in the work of our center, which is one of research and understanding the vital movement of peoples around the world today. I'm pleased to join you tonight in honoring the work of the honorees and the CMS staff during this difficult coronavirus time. Before we proceed with the program, I hope you would join me in a prayer for our participants and honorees, for immigrants and refugees, asking the Lord's blessing upon our endeavors. Let us pray. Lord our God, we thank you for giving us a world full of diversity and movement. We work to understand the better movement of peoples so that we can help them in their need and welcome them to new places in the world. We pray especially for the crisis of refugee protection in Afghanistan, and we entrust those seeking shelter to your care. Bless the work of the Center for Migration Studies, inspired by Blessed Giovanni Battista Scalabrini, who worked in a world of migrants and who continues today to inspire the work of the Center for Migration Studies. And we ask this blessing in your holy name, amen.
Thank you, Bishop DiMarzio, and thanks to the Diocese of Brooklyn, which has really been our closest partner and has so generously supported us over many years now. CMS spent the years 2017 to 2020 analyzing the very harsh policies of an administration that sought to undermine the U.S. refugee, asylum, and legal immigration systems. During this period, in Pope Francis's words, migrants, refugees, displaced persons, and victims of trafficking became emblems of exclusion. We have spent significant time over the last 19 months analyzing COVID-19 related migration developments and the effect of COVID on diverse immigrant populations. We've published 3 papers on the contributions of immigrant essential workers, and we've documented the work of community-based institutions that sought to safeguard and promote the well-being of immigrants during this crisis. This year, the theme of our event is more hopeful, toward a new day for refugee protection and immigration. We haven't yet reached that day, and there's a long way to go, but we're working toward it. The video this year of CMS's work was produced by Emma Winters, CMS's communications manager, and is narrated by Andy Tong, our development and communications associate. It will be followed by an appeal from Karen Grizzay, the chair of CMS's Board of Trustees. Karen is Public Service Counsel in the Washington, D.C. office of Fried Frank, Harris, Shriver, and Jacobson, LLP, and she is one of our field's leading attorneys and advocates. Let's watch the video on CMS now.
The Center for Migration Studies of New York is a leading think tank and educational institute on international migration. Founded in 1964 by the Congregation of the Missionaries of St. Charles, Scalabrinians, CMS is devoted to the study of migration, the promotion of understanding between immigrants and receiving communities, and to public policies that safeguard the dignity and rights of migrants, refugees, and newcomers. With a new administration in Washington, D.C., CMS has redoubled efforts this year to promote strong refugee protection and immigration policies. In November 2020, CMS published a report highlighting nearly 40 immigration reforms that should be prioritized by the Biden administration in its first year. CMS developed these recommendations over many months with the Zolberg Institute on Migration and Mobility and in consultation with an expert group. In another successful partnership, CMS worked with the Refugee Council USA to develop a national survey of stakeholders in the U.S. refugee resettlement process, including refugees. Based on survey responses, CMS authored an extensive report on ways to rebuild and strengthen the U.S. refugee admissions program. CMS and Refugee Council USA briefed staff at the Department of State and the Office of Refugee Resettlement on the report's findings and recommendations. In June, the agency released a report on how the new administration could expand eligibility for permanent residence and promote naturalization. CMS presented this report at an event with officials from U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. CMS also continued to promote evidence-based policy ideas in its Journal on Migration and Human Security, or JMHS, running articles about the COVID-19 pandemic's impact on immigrants in detention, New York State's traffic stop policies leading to deportation, migration management in Central America and Mexico, migrants caught in the conflicts in Yemen and Libya, and many more. CMS is also at the forefront of academic conversations about migration and population issues. Its premier journal, the International Migration Review, is the leading scholarly journal in the field of international migration, ethnic group relations, and refugee movements. In 2021, the International Migration Review obtained the highest impact factor rating in the history of journals on international migration. CMS is also an authoritative resource for journalists. Its extensive data on immigrant populations, for example, has been cited by the New York Times, the Associated Press, NPR, The Washington Post, CNN, and many others. In 2021, CMS has expanded its data offerings by relaunching its democratizing data mapping tools to include sub-state level estimates of the U.S. undocumented population. For the first time, CMS also offered a detailed analysis of health determinants for immigrant communities and identified the immigrant neighborhoods in Brooklyn and Queens that are most at risk of negative health outcomes. This study will serve as a vital resource as the city seeks to recover from the pandemic. The CMS archive is bringing historic lessons to bear on policy questions of today. The this treasure trove of documents from agencies that received immigrants at Ellis Island, on the Catholic Church's work with immigrants in the 20th century, on displaced persons after World War II, and on New York's Italian-American community, has informed numerous books and academic articles. In 2021, CMS has assisted 30 people in discovering their ancestors' migration stories. CMS has also connected civic and faith leaders, academics, and advocates from around the world. At CMS's most recent Catholic Immigrant Integration Initiative Conference, nearly 700 people from 33 countries gathered virtually to collaborate and strengthen the work of Catholic institutions with immigrant communities. As the recovery from crises of health and exclusion begins, CMS remains committed to bringing facts and values to the public conversation on immigration reform and refugee protection, and it seeks a new day for refugee protection and immigration.
Good evening. My name is Karen Grizzay, and I'm the chair of the Center for Migration Studies Board of Trustees. Thank you for joining CMS's 2021 virtual gala. Tonight, we look towards a new day for refugee protection and immigration. Our honorees, who have made the United States a welcoming place for countless immigrants and refugees, are leading the way to this new day. This recognition of Bob Juceam, Randy McGrorty, and Myriam Mezadieu, particularly in light of their service to Haitian refugees and immigrants, is especially timely. I would be remiss if I didn't express my personal thanks and congratulations to Bob, who encouraged, inspired, taught, and led me in the practice of immigration law and the pursuit of due process for all. And of course, Mekong NYC is an ideal honoree for its work in support of Southeast Asians in CMS's organizational home city. Tonight, as we celebrate the achievements and contributions of those seeking to welcome newcomers, I ask you to consider making an online donation to support CMS's important work. As a think tank, CMS promotes evidence-based policies and provides expert support to immigrant serving and advocacy agencies. For example, CMS is a member of the Ready to Stay Coalition, the Refugee Council USA, and Welcome US, directly supporting the efforts of these networks, respectively, to prepare for and implement legalization programs, to resettle refugees, and to welcome Afghan refugees to our country. We cannot do this work without your generosity. To donate, please find the link at the bottom of your screen. I thank you for considering becoming a CMS supporter and sustaining our work. As we look forward to the upcoming year, we are filled with hope in carrying forward our mission and building a community devoted to evidence-based public policies and human dignity. To give, please take a moment to follow the link below to your video player. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, for your generosity to CMS and for all your work for immigrant justice. It's always been an inspiration to us all. Let me now introduce Joan Neal, the Vice Chair of CMS's Board of Trustees. Joan was recently appointed Deputy Executive Director and Chief Equity Officer for Network Lobby for Catholic Social Justice. Last month, CMS, Network, and the Price Center for Social Innovation at the University of Southern California co-sponsored an event based on a paper authored by Roberto Suro and Hannah Finling and published by CMS, which is titled Tax Equality for Immigrants, the Indispensable Ingredient for Remedying Child Poverty in the United States. Joan kindly agreed to say a few words on CMS. Let's listen to her now.
My name is Joan Neal, and I am the Vice Chair of the Center for Migration Studies Board of Trustees. CMS has long been a leader in producing and publishing cutting-edge research, hosting timely events, and leading discussions on the most important policy issues in national and international migration. Since its founding in 1964, CMS has conducted its research, education, and policy work in service to the common good and with respect for the God-given dignity of refugees and immigrants. CMS's research and policy recommendations are authoritative. I rely on them in my work at Network Lobby for Catholic Social Justice, where I serve as Deputy Executive Director and Chief Equity Officer. Network and CMS recently worked together on an event about child poverty and inequality in the U.S. tax system for immigrant families. A report published in CMS's Journal on Migration and Human Security, JMHS, found that 1 in every 5 children in poverty, the great majority of them U.S. citizens, are excluded from federal tax credits aimed at fighting child poverty. Network used the information in this report to advocate before Congress for protecting and supporting all of our nation's children. CMS's data and policy analysis contributes significantly to the work of the Catholic community and the broader immigrant serving and advocacy communities, and I am proud to be associated with this vital organization.
Thank you, Joan, for all your support to CMS and your good work at Network, and before that, at Catholic Relief Services and so many other important institutions over the years. In 2016, CMS honored St. Paul Chong Hasang Roman Catholic Church in Flushing, New York, with its Immigrant Achievement Award. The church provides pastoral, social, and other services to a very vital and growing Korean American community. We're very fortunate to share with you tonight a special performance by the St. Paul Chong Hasang Church Choir, which is led by choir director Benedict Lee. Let's listen to that performance now.
My name is Benedict Lee, and I'm a choir director in St. Paul Chong in Flushing, New York. Today we're going to sing Korean traditional song called Arirang, and we have a beautiful choir member ready to sing. Hope you enjoy it.
Our thanks to St. Paul Chang Hasang Church for its important ministry, its support to our event and to CMS over the years, and to its choir for that very lovely performance. Now we're moving on to our evening's honorees. The first two honorees, Randy McGrorty and Myriam Mezadieu, have been personal heroes of mine for more than 30 years now, starting with their work with Haitian asylum seekers screened into the United States from Guantanamo Naval Base in 1991 and 1992. In 1998, they co-founded Catholic Legal Services, or CLS, of the Archdiocese of Miami. Randy is executive director of CLS and Myriam is its chief operating officer. They've enjoyed the support of Archbishop Wensky, their terrific staff, and the communities they serve. Still, it's not an overstatement to say that Randy and Myriam, starting from scratch, have created one of the very best legal service agencies in the country. CLS now has 55 persons on staff, including 32 attorneys and 6 accredited representatives. It serves 2,000 immigrants per month from locations in Miami-Dade and Broward counties. Most of its clients come from across the Americas, and staff reflect their diversity. But CLS is more than a legal agency. It's a community and a faith-based institution that responds to the hopes and aspirations of people who seek freedom, security, and opportunity. Myriam calls its work a blessing and a mission, and I think that's totally true. Romer Desir, a former client and now paralegal at Catholic Legal Services who fled Haiti in 2014, will pay tribute to Randy and Myriam. But let's turn first to Randy and Myriam to accept this award.
It is my honor and privilege to accept the Center for Migration Studies Humanitarian Service Award. This award is a testimony to the significance that the role of Catholic Legal Services plays in the lives of immigrants by providing access to justice, which has ripple effect on the stability and safety of each immigrant, their families, and their US-born children. I sincerely thank the Center for Migration Studies and our nominations for this honor. There is a saying in Creole, yon sel doit pa manger kalalou. Literally, you cannot eat okra with one finger. And it is so true. It takes more than one person to successfully achieve our goals. It is certainly a very proud and humbling experience for me to work with such a dedicated team. I praise the staff of Catholic Legal Services, current and former, for their industrious work in providing legal services to immigrants. This honor will not have been possible without your indefatigable work. Thank you. When Randy and I started at the Pierre Toussaint Haitian Center, we only grew with the enthusiasm and spiritual guidance of Archbishop Thomas Wensky, then Father Wensky, whom I have the deepest respect. Thank you, Archbishop. Randy, to explore this phenomenon, we had to embark on this mission. Thank you for setting sail, hoping to cross the high seas to justice, freedom, opportunity, security, welcoming immigrants without ever imagining the ship might wreck. Though caught in stormy weather and sometimes in imminent danger of sinking, but you landed. Now keep yourself on shore. Congratulations on receiving this Humanitarian Service Award. Thank you, Marie-Claire, for embarking with us on this mission. However, none of this could have ever been possible without the inspiration I have received from Don Coren, who served as the director of clinic when I started with the Catholic Legal Aid for Haitians in 1992, for whom I have the deepest respect and from whom I have derived the strength to challenge myself. Thank you, Don. This recognition, I hope, can serve as an inspiration to others to persist in our dedication through the storms and challenges life throws at us. Sometimes, small efforts can make a difference in the lives of others. If mine can make a difference in the lives of the immigrants, so can yours. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
I want to thank Myriam for those profound words and for being the heart and soul of this agency for nearly 30 years. It is so important that she is honored because sometimes, you know, as the world is what it is, she gets neglected, and she really, really deserves this recognition. It is also an acknowledgement, as Myriam said, of the hard work of generations of lawyers and legal professionals who have worked with us throughout this enduring project. But more importantly, it is a testament to our clients, to their hopes and dreams. And, you know, Myriam alluded to the fact that we began working with Haitian migrants who had come to our shores through a mass migration after spending time in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. That was almost 30 years ago. And we saw a full circle a couple of weeks ago as Haitians huddled under the bridge, yearning for freedom, safety, and security. It is a reminder that we do this for them. And I'd like to quote the words of Ted Kennedy, the grandchild of immigrants and an advocate for immigrants and justice for all who have been underserved. In a very, very famous speech, he said, and that's who this award is for all those whose cares have been our concern. The work goes on, the cause endures, the hope still lives, and the dream shall never die. Thank you all.
My name is Myriam Mezadieu. I left Haiti, or I fled Haiti since 2014 because of threat. And when I came in the United States, fortunately, there is a Catholic Legal Services to receive me as a family. And then first of all, I need to thank Mr. Brad Genter that sit with me and discuss how they can help me in my situation. And my family and I would like to congratulate Myriam Mezadieu and Mr. McGrorty for the great or tremendous job they do in that community and helping people that suffering, slavery, kidnapping, humanity crises, and everything. Even though my case is still pending since 2014, but I think I can say I've grown up thankfully, and I go to the university, FIU, I learn paralegal. Now I can help, even though I need help, I help the community also. And then I don't have a word to describe how Catholic services is helping people at the border. So fled the country and then seeking for help. And then Mr. McGrorty and Miss Myriam Mezadieu are there to support them, go to the court, assist them, and then give them advice. So I think Catholic Legal Services is more than an institution, it's a family. Thank you. And on behalf of my family and an other group that come in the country without nothing, and then think that USA can help and Catholic Legal Services had done that job. Thank you. Communauté haïtienne, en particulier, m'a parlé créole parce que yo même qui parle créole. Les nous quitter Haïti, bagay yo connaît très difficile parce que nous recevons menaces. Yo qu'on a torturé nous pour crise politique, tout bagay ça yo. Les nous quitter nous pas personne, mais nous avons une famille qui recevoir nous qui c'est Catholic Legal Services. Nous disons merci avec monsieur Brad Genter qui te recevoir famille moi. Et non seulement famille, mais tout le monde qui sorti de partout qui pour te venir dans Catholic Charité te ouvre porte pour vous. Et nous disons merci pour tout ça. Nous disons monsieur McGrorty merci et madame Myriam Mezadieu merci parce que vous avez accueilli nous dans une grande famille ça qui c'est Catholic Legal Services. Thank you.
Many thanks to Romery for those words, and to Randy and Myriam. It's really an honor for CMS to be able to recognize their lifelong journey with and as refugees and immigrants. I want to next to turn to Juceam, the Executive Director of Mekong NYC. Mekong NYC is a racial justice organization that works with the Southeast Asian community, primarily the Vietnamese and Cambodian, and also the Laotian communities in the Bronx. Chaya was born in Cambodia in 1978 during the fall of the Khmer Rouge. Her family sought refuge in camps in Thailand and the Philippines before making their way to the United States. In 2012, she co-founded Mekong, which seeks to empower the Southeast Asian community through the arts, culture, community organizing, and advocacy. After Chaya accepts the award, Kashwa Baj, the co-executive director of Freedom Inc., will offer a short tribute to Mekong NYC. Let's listen to Chaya now.
Thank you so much for this honor. My name is Chaya Chow. I am the executive director of Mekong NYC. We're a community-based social justice, movement building, racial justice organization out here in the Bronx. But we organize the Southeast Asian community, specifically the Vietnamese and Cambodian community and Laotian community came to this country as part of the, one of the largest refugee resettlement program. And we were resettled here in the Bronx in 1985. And so I came when I was 7. So this is such an honor to know that y'all was probably advocating for us to be here. So greatly appreciate the work that people did on this side of the world to make sure that folks like myself who, were in refugee camps after the war in Southeast Asia. And so thank you so much for this honor. And, my people and us continue to advocate and fight for not just for our justice, but also for other people. And to do that in a way that honors our own history and the history of the Bronx. And so we're committed to continuing to do the work, the just work of justice and the fight for all of us. So thank you once again for honoring us at your gala.
Prize and congratulations on this wonderful award. I'm so excited for you all that you're finally getting lots of recognitions throughout the United States for the work that you've been putting in for the last 10 years. And my name is Gajua, and I'm a co-executive director at Freedom Inc. We are in Madison, Wisconsin. We're Black and Southeast Asian queer, femme, and transgender nonconforming organization that works on social justice. And we've been family with Mekong NYC since inception. We follow their lead. We are excited. We are inspired by the way that they've been leading us in the Southeast Asian immigration movement. I've had so many opportunities to build with them, but particularly the one that I remember the most is my trip to Cambodia. I think that it's amazing how Cambodian advocates and Cambodian human rights activists and leaders like Chaya and her team have been leading us, and people need to learn their lessons. We went to Cambodia and we were able to connect with the folks who have been deported. And Mekong NYC was so instrumental in connecting us to that movement and connecting us to those voices. And that we're building not only with each other here in the US, but that we're building with our families who've been deported to our countries. And so it's inspiring to be with you all. I'm so honored, and congratulations on this beautiful award.
Thank you to Mekong NYC and to Chaya Chum for their inspiring work. And thank you to Kashua for her very strong words about that work. Mekong, I think, reminds us that fighting for justice is, of course, rooted in particular situations and communities, but it's also a history. It's also a commitment to remembering the history and honoring the culture of those that have historically suffered injustice. Tonight, I also have the pleasure of presenting Bob Juceam with our Lifetime Service Award for his decades of service to immigrants and refugees. Bob claims never to have been an immigration lawyer, which is true in a very lawyerly kind of way, yet he has represented numerous immigrants in a variety of cases over his long career. More than that, he has inspired generations of lawyers to take on pro bono immigration cases. Bob has served as a board member, officer, and legal counsel for numerous nonprofits serving the immigrant community. These include the American Immigration Lawyers Association, the American Immigration Law Foundation, and the American Bar Association. Bob also led the team that incorporated and obtained tax-exempt status for the CARE Coalition, which serves detained adults and children in the Washington, D.C. area. Bob is well known for his work in the mid-1980s when he challenged the US policy of interdicting Haitian refugees at sea and worked with the then Lawyers Committee for Human Rights and the ABA to create a pro bono program to represent more than 2,000 Haitian asylum seekers. Bob has also testified repeatedly before Congress. He spearheaded federal court litigation opposing the infamous 1996 Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act. He inspired Chief Judge Robert Katzman of the US Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit to establish the Study Group on Immigrant Representation in 2008. This led to the creation of the Immigrant Justice Corps in 2014, which has trained and deployed legal fellows in New York and around the country. He has worked tirelessly to establish a right to appointed counsel in removal proceedings and to promote the creation of an independent Article I immigration court. Bob's quest for justice and fairness allegedly began in kindergarten when he sought to convince his teacher that a classmate had been treated unfairly. I really, in retrospect, pity that teacher. We happily honor Bob tonight with our Lifetime Service Award for applying his boundless energy and talent over 6 decades in pursuit of access to justice and due process for all immigrants and refugees. Jojo Anobile, Executive Director of the Immigrant Justice Corps, and Michael Posner, the Jerome Kohlberg Professor of Ethics and Finance at NYU's Stern School of Business, will pay tribute to Bob tonight. But first, let's turn to Bob for his acceptance of this award.
I'm so delighted to be with CMS at this year's gala. Thank you for thinking of me for the CMS Lifetime Services Award. I'm especially grateful to those at CMS, my colleague Karen Grizzay, your board chair, Austin Fragaman, a longtime friend who previously led our board, and to those who were awarded as well this evening for supporting the work that CMS does that has international exposure through the internet, YouTube, and availability of research resources that are on the CMS website. In a period of pandemic, those who are migrants by cause of climate change, those who are suffering imposition of those occupying Afghanistan, and those who have had to leave the Middle East to Europe, looking for safety, refuge, and a livable future. Thank you too for all of the academics, practitioners, authors of first-rate quality who come to us to share their current thinking on policy and activities and events to make folks aware of all of the needs, the enormous needs every day in real life across the globe. I should tell you a little bit about Father Bevilacqua, later Cardinal in Philadelphia. When I was a young lawyer, I met him. He was in the Archdiocese in Brooklyn and was told to increase church membership. And as he went around to the various parishes, the one thing central to what he heard from people was, we need immigration help. And so he went to law school and got a law degree and joined with other immigration lawyers in New York City to advance the help available to those who could not afford or find legal help. All of us need to find a way to join together to make clear that the interests of the migrant are interests of the world. Immigration work is the work of equal protection, due process, fairness, and believing in the rule of law. Those are not concepts limited to immigration. And Bob Katzman, recently departed, chief of the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, was an inspiration. And through my relationship with him, what is now the Equal Justice Project that he started has taken the effort, the superb effort in New York, which achieved a lawyer for everyone that wanted one who was financially unable to get a deportation defense in the city of New York. So I hope those tonight keep as foremost in their minds to support CMF's public efforts at education and scholarship, and the efforts of the bar associations and nonprofits to add to their pro bono resources and the training of lawyers who will enter the field. I kind of want to just recite a poem that I learned as a young fellow. It's called The Lamplighter, and it goes like this. I met a stranger in the night whose lamp had ceased to shine. He came to me, and I held my lighted lamp to his. A tempest sprang up later on and shook the world about. And when the storm was gone, my lamp was out. Back to me that stranger came. His lamp was glowing fine. He held to me his precious flame and rekindled mine. May all of us be lamplighters.
It's a privilege to be invited to pay tribute to my dear friend and mentor, Bob Juceam. I've known and worked with Bob for over 15 years. He's a passionate advocate who spent his career championing efforts to provide pro bono services to immigrants in need. I had the honor of serving with Bob on the late Judge Robert A. Katzman's study group on immigration representation. Bob's unwavering passion, optimism, creative thinking, and the vast network of contacts he brought with him were invaluable to our deliberations. Equally impressive was Bob's work with Judge Katzman to realize his vision of Immigrant Justice Corps, a fellowship program dedicated to training and supporting the next generation of immigration lawyers and advocates. Bob, thank you for your lifelong commitment to immigrant justice, for being an inspiring role model to me and many others. Congratulations.
Well, I'm just thrilled that CMS has decided to give this award to Bob Juceam, who's one of my heroes in life. I've worked with Bob, known him for 4 decades, and our friendship, our collaboration began in the early 1980s when I was running the then Lawyers Committee for Human Rights, now Human Rights First, and we were involved in litigation on behalf of several thousand Haitians who had been detained in Florida. And Bob was unique among law firm partners, he and his firm, Fried Frank, in not only agreeing to become legal counsel for those cases, but Bob threw himself into it personally. He's so smart, he's such a great lawyer, but he's a person with enormous heart and sympathy. This wasn't just another case for him. This was part of a cause for due process, for protecting those vulnerable who had come into our society and needed help. We met in those cases, and one incident in particular that I remember, we were before a judge. We both testified about the need for the Haitians to be released. There were about 2,500 in detention. And a federal judge looked at both of us and said, all right, you're saying that Haitians ought to be released. They're going to be released all over the country. Can you promise that you're going to find a lawyer for each of these people? Bob and I huddled, we had dinner that night, and we decided, and Bob, without any hesitation, said, I'm representing the American Immigration Lawyers Association, American Bar Association. Let's go in and tell them that we can do it. And so that gave me confidence. If Bob was willing to do it, I was going to throw the resources of our little NGO in New York, the Lawyers Committee, into it as well. But that's Bob. He's a can-do guy. He's a smart guy. He's a compassionate guy. He's the best of what the legal profession in the United States stands for. And that's been my experience with him for the last 40 years. When I need help on an immigration matter in any context, it's Bob Juceam that I go to. He's the guy, he's the man who gets it done, and he's a real credit to our profession and to our country. Thank you.
Well, thank you to Bob for his big heart and for his lifetime of service to immigrants, and to Jojo and to Michael for helping us to honor Bob this evening. Let me now introduce Father Jose Juan Cervantes Gonzalez, a Scalabrini priest and a member of CMS's Board of Trustees, who co-directs Casa Scalabrini in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. Casa Scalabrini is a pastoral center for migrants who need professional and prolonged care due to their particular situations and their needs that cannot be met in other shelters. Father Jose Juan's presentation will be followed by a closing statement from Karen Grizzay and a few final words from me. Let's turn now to Father Jose Juan.
Hello, my name is Father Jose Juan Cervantes Gonzalez. I am an Scalabrinian priest. I am the co-director of Casa Scalabrini, Centro de Pastoral Migratoria in Guadalajara, Mexico. I am also a member of the Center of Migration Studies Board of Trustees. In the board, I represent the San John the Baptist province of the Scalabrinian Fathers. At the Casa Scalabrini, Guadalajara, we run a shelter for migrants. We also offer job training and reintegration services. And we advocate for most just migration policies, including different ways of doing this through our magazine, Migrantes, and through social media. One of the main populations we accompany at Casa Scalabrini is deportees from the United States. Deportation flights to the interior of Mexico have continued during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging year and a half, but we had managed to reopen our shelter. Youth policies directly affect the situation in Guadalajara and in the other shelters the Scalabrinians run in different parts of America and Central America. Although we are located more than 2,500 miles from the Center for Migration Studies, there is a close connection between my work and the work of CMS, which is seeking to promote just policies to protect the lives and dignity of immigrants and refugees. As the CMS Gala nears its conclusion, I hope you will join me in supporting the Center for Migration Studies, which is a vital member of the Scalabrinian family.
Tonight's honorees have been truly inspiring. Thank you again for participating in CMS's 2021 virtual gala and joining with us to honor the inspiring work and contributions of migrant serving leaders. It has been a pleasure to share their stories and achievements with you tonight. At CMS, we look forward to a new day for refugee protection and immigration, in which we will work together to establish more inclusive communities. I invite you once more to support CMS's timely and important work by following the link at the bottom of your screen. Thank you for being a part of the CMS family and community. We appreciate your time and commitment, and we look forward to keeping connected with you through updates and virtual events in the coming months. Please visit our website, www.cmsny.org, to learn more about our upcoming events and publications. I hope that you've enjoyed the presentations. Congratulations again to our honorees and to all of our sponsors who have made tonight's event possible. Good night.
Thank you, Father Jose Juan, and thank you to Karen and to all our honorees and our speakers and performers this evening. I'm biased, but I feel that CMS is a really special institution and one whose visibility is not quite caught up to its ambition or to the quality of its work at this point, but will soon. We publish leading academic, research, and public policy journals. We're a think tank that's devoted to migrants, refugees, refugee-like populations, and the institutions that work with them. We operate within a network of migrant shelters, welcoming centers, think tanks, and immigrant serving and advocacy agencies. We're committed to what Pope Francis recently called an ever wider we, in which there are no more others, but only one us. We thank you for your commitment to the people at the heart of the migration phenomenon, and we invite you to learn more and to participate more in our work. And as we bring our formal program to a close, we thank you for your support.